Well, hi everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to be talking about coping with stress. As you will hear, I had more than my fair share this week, and I wanted to just share with you some of the incredible people I met that helped me cope with the stress, and also some of the ways in which I coped with the stress. So, hello there to, I can see Jeannie's here, and Jody, our admin, is here. Charlotte says that it's about 30 freezing in her part of Canada. What have we got here? Jeannie's saying it's in the 50s. Jody's in Maine, and Jody's saying it's 55 currently in New Hampshire. It's pretty darn cool here in British Columbia as well. I haven't I haven't got outside yet to tell you exactly what it is, but I suppose I could tell you. Hold on one second, because my phone tells me all the time. 53 degrees Fahrenheit here. Just so you know, southern British Columbia, in case you don't know. So, a very warm welcome to everybody. And I hope that you all had a great week. And I must apologize for the fact that I needed to cancel Friday's broadcast. When you hear what happened to me on Thursday, I think you will all just roll your eyes and go, yeah, I think that's okay. And even if it isn't, it's what I needed to do. And you'll realize why. What do I need here? I need my quotes here. That's what I want. Where have they gone? That'll teach me to change channels on myself. All right. So the first quote I have, because it's really important to me, is that one day you will find someone that chooses you and continues to choose you, and you will be thankful for everything that happened on the way there. And what I wanted to talk about was I got to meet some incredible people in this week, and people I already had known but I hadn't known, and then also a brand new person. And that's really very important. So, first of all, before I get on to it's all about me, before I get on to that part, I just wanted to wish Jeannie's God's grandson, Zephyr, I think, has a birthday tomorrow, I think, if I'm correct. And so happy birthday to Zephyr. And Jamie's birthday is tomorrow. Jody, please give me a heads up later on to put up a card for her, if you will, because my mind might be elsewhere. And then, of course, Kerry's birthday is on the 31st. And we have no idea when Nada's birthday is, but we know it is sometime in October. Thoughts and prayers for everybody who might need them this week. And if you need them, please let us know so I can put them up after the broadcast. And in the meantime, here's what happened. I would say that stress-wise, this this was probably one of my most stressful weeks in a lot of ways. But also, hang on a second, I got a phone going. Okay. Not one I have to answer. Okay, I just have to be careful of the calls that I get at the moment. All right, so here we go. You all know that I had an appointment on Thursday at the breast health clinic to talk about the biopsy that they did. You remember they took about a thumb's worth of tissue out of my boob, and I went there to hear the results of that. Now, as you all know, I was pretty zen about it all, and because I knew what the percentages were and all the rest of it, and I knew that DCIS, that I'd caught it earlier enough, everything was pretty good. The best thing was that Jess, who you will probably remember in terms of Doug and Jess, but Jess insisted on coming with me, which I thought was a little bit unnecessary because I was only going to be discussing stuff. But hey, she was very insistent. She said, you need somebody to take notes. I got to learn to listen to intelligent people, you know. But, you know, one of my concerns was, you know, if I introduce you, Jess, how do I introduce you? And it was so cute because she looked at me and she said, your daughter? And I just cried. I don't mind inside. I'm not sure if I did it externally, but I thought that was so cute that she wanted to be called my daughter. And so I said, okay, we got a deal. So anyway, Jess came to collect me, took the afternoon off work so she could do this. I mean, amazing. And what incredible kindness and care. That's what I just got to tell you. I could not, you know, with it, maybe the only other person I could think of that would have done an equal job would have been Yvonne. And, you know, Yvonne's just moved for the first time in 26 years or something. So, you know, she had a pass on this one. But the incredible kindness and care was, and I'm not used to that. You know, I'm an independent little so-and-so. Do any of you relate to that? I'm not used to people caring that much. That, you know, literally everything that she did was just demonstrated love. And I was in tears of the kindness of it all. I don't know if that makes any sense to any of you. Anyway, but as we were walking towards the breast health clinic, she said, oh gosh, I forgot my notepad. And I just rolled my eyes and said, don't worry. You know me, I had plan B and C already in place. So I said, I brought my day timer with me and this one. And I said, you know, you can write notes in there, which actually turned out to be a really great thing because it meant I had the notes. I took them home with me, her notes, and she didn't feel duty, but she wanted to take them home and transcribe them. And I said, why? You know, you got them there. I'm pretty sure if I've got a question, I can ask you. And yes, and Kimmy's saying you can record the conversation on the phone. I actually used a program called Otter, Otter. Okay, just so that you all can see that. I don't normally advertise products in this way, but I want to tell you their free version gives you, I think it's half an hour of nonstop audio to text. And once you've had the half hour, you can just turn it back on again and get the next half hour. It is absolutely brilliant. So we had, being me, we had plan A, B, C, and D, right? A was Jess's notepad. B was my day timer. C was my planner. And then D was Otter. So we were covered for the note taking. What did we know? We knew there was going to be quite a bit of information. And I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how together you are. I want to tell you, when they start giving you the sort of information you're going to hear, there is a point when your brain just goes, information overload. And so it is really, really important that you have somebody with you if you possibly can. And secondly, that you have lots of different ways of recording those notes, because in some cases I went back to check Jess's notes, went back to check Otter, and also went to, and by the way, I knew that there was I knew that there was probably quite a bit coming at me when they started off by bringing out this brochure, and that was headed up. Now, what was it about the heading on that brochure that had me from the get-go? All right, so now then, another really interesting point was that I made sure that we got there really early, like half an hour early. And the reason for that was I wanted time to be at the clinic, know that we'd parked, know that everything was fine in that way. And then I also needed to know that I had time to grab a coffee because, I know that these things get delayed. And the other thing I did, which may surprise all of you, was I made sure I loaded up on a sugary cake. I had a frosted lemon cake slice. You know what I mean? And that probably surprises you because I'm diabetic, and I control it with my diet, or in this case, I don't control it with my diet. But the reason can any of you can any of you work out why before I went to that meeting, had a sugar icing type lemon cake slab before I went into that meeting? And the reason I want you to think about this was because, you know me, I'm a great one for being prepared. And although there was a very slight chance, yes, thank you, Charlotte, all right? Charlotte's saying stress takes glucose to deal with it. Yes. So there was, I was pretty sure I was ready to hear everything. Jeannie's saying to give you extra energy. And then she said, sugar helps if you're stressed. Absolutely. Think about it. If ever you're in a situation, a car thing or anything else, or an accident or something, what they give you is hot sugary tea or coffee, or they give you something with sugar in it. So I said, even Jess was surprised. She said, aren't you diabetic? I said, yeah, but we have no idea what's coming at us. So I want to make sure that my body has got the sugar in it they will probably want me to have after the meeting. You know what I mean? It was just like, let me prepare. So I did that. So although I ended up with a booklet with most of the facts in it, I want to tell you, I was so grateful for Jess's ears. I was so grateful for the fact we had it on Otter and everything else, because I cannot tell you how many things I had to go back on. Yes, Charlotte says, I eat donuts for stress and hormones. I eat donuts for weight control, but it puts it on. Actually, I haven't had a donut in ages. Years. I don't think I've had a donut since I left work. That must be 5 years ago. Wow. So leaving the emotional roller coaster on the side. Do you all agree? That's why I had to cancel the broadcast on Friday, is because I knew I needed time to process. I needed time to go through all the bits and to just make sure that I had cleared it all up. All right. That I'd cleared it up in my mind, that I was back in balance to, as much as I could. So here are the facts. Number one, apparently, I also got given, just so you know, where's that piece of paper? What did they do with it? Yep, here we go. I got given my pathology. And the very first thing on the pathology was tumor. Not what I expected, did I? And the word on the other side was present. So that was, I see. So that's how the conversation started. However, the tumor, and I'm going to explain that to you, the tumor was actually inside that duct. Remember, I showed you that picture, and the invasive cancer had got out, not out of the duct that we know of, but had got far enough that it had started to form. And I'll give you the facts on that in a minute. So my biopsy showed that I had both precancerous DCIS, that's ductal carcinoma in situ, that's inside the duct, all right, but also invasive cancer cells. It had just got to that. They believe they got the cancer out. That you need to know. So what I'm about to tell you may shock you, but I want to start by saying they believe that what was there, they probably have got out. However, what they don't know, did any random cells get out and get as far as my lymph nodes? Now, those of you who understand breast cancer, what happens is it starts in the tissue here and then moves its way to the lymph nodes, and from there it carries on. All right, Charlotte's asking, is this specific cancer a residual of smoking or other cause? I have no idea. I didn't ask, nor do I care. You know, what? I really don't care. All I know is I've got cancer. Number one, I've got invasive cancer or not. The question is, we don't know the or not. We don't know whether what I had has gone because of the biopsy. We don't know if it got to the nodes or not. And obviously they need to find that out. So the invasive cancer was 3.5 millimeters. It's a little over, no, I lie. Yeah, but 0.1 of an inch. I mean, I was so lucky I went for that mammogram. So here was the good news. The margins, you remember they took out about a thumb, all the margins around the cells, around the margins of what they took out were clear. However, they didn't like how close the cancer cells were, right? That's what worried them. So the actual non-cancerous cells were about 18 millimeters, or about 3/4 of an inch of non-cancerous. So I was given two choices, and it was incredible. I want to tell you, this information came at me so fast you wouldn't even believe it. You keep going, yeah, because you think you got it all, but I got news for you. Not even my two brain cells. Hi there, Sandy. Okay, so the first thing she did was to sort of show me a page with boobs on it and everything. And she said, you got two choices. Now, the first one was, and I'll try and do it in layman's language because she used quite a lot of different terms. The first one was they can go back to where they did the biopsy, took a whole bigger chunk out, and take what they call the sentinel node. That is, I believe, the first node of your lymph nodes. And because they need to check that node to see, did any of those cells get as far as that? And if so, I've got a much bigger problem. So the sentinel node is defined as the first lymph node, all right? So there are hundreds of the little things up there. But that's, if I've got any escaping cancer cells, that's where they would be. Sometimes apparently there can be more than one sentinel. So it's sort of like a main one, but occasionally there are two of them that are main ones. So they will only know that when they get inside and have a look. Now, if I have just the second biopsy and the lymph nodes taken, the ones that they want, there is still a chance they'd have to go back for another surgery, depending on what they found in the lymph nodes. And that's no maybe. The second one was to go straight ahead, have a mastectomy, lose weight the quick way, have a mastectomy. I say that because, you think about that. But, have the mastectomy, and they would also do the lymph nodes at the same time. Now, I think you all know that I study body language and voice tones a lot. All right, I've always have done. I've always been somebody to love me, show me you love me. You know what I mean? Or don't tell me you're a friend, show me you're a friend. And so I study people's body language and their voice tones. And you could tell that each time she had this piece of paper, she was saying, we can do this, and da-da-da-da. And then there's an 8% chance you could end up with more cancer coming back in that boob. However, the second one, we could take the boob off. And if so, there is 0 chance that you're going to have cancer back in that boob because you won't have one. So then, she'd talk about something else, and she'd say, 0.1 you do but point two, point A, if I just have the second biopsy, the more tissue removed and the lymph nodes, then they also, after that, they reckon I would need 19 consecutive days of radiation. Or I could have the boob taken off, and there would be no radiation required. Yeah, it's interesting. Kimmy's saying I said I'd always have both taken off. I asked about that, Kimmy. So remind me to address that again in a second. Jeannie's saying the surgeon wants me healthy. Yep, no doubt about it. And so she said, I don't want you to make a decision right now. What I want you to do is talk about it with your family and friends and then come back with a decision. And we already have a date booked for you on January the 6th if you want it. And I said, obviously I had a couple of questions. I said, that's just before Christmas. Just before Christmas. And I said, I like Christmas. How about I do it in January? What are the risks then? Right. And I just wanted to know, out of interest, what are the percentage increase of risk if I wait until January? She said none. Not going to make a blind bit of difference. We've caught this so early, Sal, that it's not going to make any difference to you. So if you want it in January, that's fine. I'm happy with that. And hi, Anna Marie. Anna Marie is saying, hi, did your doctor address breast conserving surgery followed by radiation therapy? That's the discussion I will have on Tuesday. Very good question. So there are different ways they can do it, right? They just lop off everything and just sew it back together. They can actually keep the skin and the pointy bit. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say on YouTube. And that's called skin conserving surgery. Or they can do another one, which is they don't keep the pointy bit. And, so there are lots of options that I have. So Kimmy's saying, I even told my mom to do that. She only had one removed and the cancer came back and spread to her lungs. All right. So I asked about that as well, Kimmy. Should I have both off? I mean, seeing as you're going to be doing one. She said no. Very unlikely, Kimmy, that it has spread far enough that you would need both off. We see no signs of it in your second boob. And believe you me, we've checked. All right, we see no signs of it there. So therefore, we just want to know, did it get as far as the lymph node? We think it probably didn't because you caught it so early. But that's what they want to find out. So no, I did ask about having two and like a total mastectomy, lose a whole lot of weight, but I'm only going to lose half that much. I like the fact that she said, I'd like you to have time to think. So they immediately booked me another appointment for Tuesday, actually Monday, but they've subsequently changed it to Tuesday. But before I left, they said, we have everything set up for you right now. And I said, what? And she said, we'd like you to go and do an ECG because you'll need that for the operation in case you haven't. you know that where she wanted me to go, don't you? Secondly, we want to do a chest x-ray so we know what we're dealing with there. And thirdly, we want you to have blood work done. And you can do it all before you leave the building. Now, I want to tell you, Jess was magical. I have never had chance to be in a situation where Jess and I were chatting together before, right? It's always been with Doug. And so it's the first time I've ever sort of got to know her as a person without Doug. And it was just like, she was just, I couldn't have asked for a better daughter, quite honestly. And we were sitting, she literally, she was like a pack horse, or a yak. When I got up from hearing all this stuff, my brain was just, blown. And I was, pretending I was fine, but I just didn't have a lot of bandwidth left. And she literally was gathering up my phone and my day timer and stuffing it all into my bag and carrying the bag as well as we made our way to the next place. The ECG, quite honestly, they spent more time putting all the different sensors on than they did doing it. Yeah, Jeannie's saying you've already decided January is better than Christmas. We're all with you. Thank you. I have to tell you, once I heard that there was no added risk as far as she was concerned. Yeah, Sandy's saying, I'm so glad you had somebody with you. I want to tell you, I did not expect this. All right. I had prepared for it just in case, but this was not what I expected to hear. I expected to hear that they wanted to go back in. But I did not expect that I would hear that go back in and take the boob. So that was. I am so glad I had the sugar. So now then, you know me. I'm a chatty sort of person. I'm certain you're not surprised to hear that. So we're waiting for. We did the ECG, and as I said, that took more time to put the little doodads on than it did to actually do that. Then we went for the chest X-ray, and that was remarkably okay. But while we were waiting for the chest X-ray, my phone went, my doorbell went on my phone. And, there were other people sitting around, and I said, oh, sorry about that, it's my doorbell. And I sort of checked on my thing to see what was going on, and I realized from what I could see that it was probably Amazon hacking a parcel on, one of many. I keep them in business. So, but somebody said in the waiting room, did you say that you just heard your doorbell go while you're sitting in the clinic? I said, yep. Well, then you know me. I had to get up and show them. Hey, here's, and I literally took my phone and showed them. It was so funny. You guys would have cracked up. You would have just rolled your eyes and went, that's so Sal. Okay. So I just went, yeah. Yeah, there's my front door. Right? All right. So Anna Marie is asking, Sal, did you have genetic counseling? I don't know what that is, so I don't think so. Tells you what sort of cells they have found. Is your cancer HER2 positive? Wait a minute. Whatever invasive carcinoma is. Oh, here you go. Thank you for the question, Anna Marie. I just learned something new. It says under histologic type, invasive carcinoma of no specific type. Ductal. It was still inside the duct, we think. All right. So anyway, so here I am with my doorbell going, and I'm busy showing them the picture. And then people are saying to me, you mean you can hear your doorbell? I said, yeah, it's back down in Langley, where I live. And I said, and they said, and you can hear it on your phone? I said, yes. Well, everybody, and I've got a light that also is a camera, but also has infrared. So at night it doesn't have to stay on. It just takes an infrared picture as well. Yeah, it's very, very smart. So literally a smart thing. How did we live without these gizmos? Well, then, another person said, can I see that? And then I said, you do know I'm not on commission, people. And then another person came from way down the passageway, also heard about what I said and said, can I get the name of that? Well, of course, that was making me laugh. And you know that laughter is really good for me. And I think you all know that I have a personal motto that they will write about me that here lies Sal, who cared enough to share, shared enough to make a meaningful difference, and by so doing became a gentle giant inside. A lot of chiseling on a tombstone that I'm not going to have, but that's how I live my life, right? I want people to be able to say that about me. So I'm going, well, I guess I cared enough to share some information today. So we got the ECG and the chest X-ray done pretty quickly. But again, so much information, right? And so much running from one floor to another. And then the last one was go get your blood work done. Now, by now, I had actually given up trying to be intelligent. I do you understand that? Like I was information overload, and now it was doing things overload. So most unlike me, I allowed Jess to line up for me with my documents and be my ears and my voice. And they did call for me for some reason at one point, but that was fine. And then they put me in front of the queue. All right, Jeannie, let me see if I don't understand which part. Hold on a second. Jeannie's asking, will you have to repeat some of this because it's only October? Oh, you mean the blood work and everything else? Probably, possibly. They're going to take a boob. I'm going to be lopsided. Jeannie, I obviously can't tell you that. It's possible, and I would expect quite probable. I have so many different meetings I have to go to before they do this, apparently. So I'll tell you when I know. Good question, though. So here I go in for blood work. And I've got a mask on, as you saw on the picture. And I'm sitting down and I have very awkward veins, so they have to take it from my hand. So I'm talking to the technician lady, so pleasant. And she takes blood from my hand. And she turned and said something. Well, I'm deaf. So if she turns away and says something, I can't hear her at all. And I saw Jess say, "Did you hear what she said, Sal?" And I said, "No." "What did she say?" And Jess said, "She seems to think she knows you from somewhere, but she's not sure where." And I just laughed, right? So Jess then said, I mean, just out of the blue, said, "Would you happen to know Dear Mama Sal?" Well, I want to tell you, chaos reigned from that moment. She spun around, and I'm crying because the reaction was so incredible that you would have loved to be in my place. She spun around and she said, "Of course I know Dear Mama Sal and Benji and Judy and the children and and Don Simba." And it was like her long lost grandmother had arrived. And well, I had to give her a hug because the reaction was so amazingly cute. This, and I said, "Jess, you'll have to forgive us. We need selfies, don't we?" And she said, "Yes. And wait until I tell my sister." It's amazing how many people say that. Wait until I tell, whoever. Wait until I tell my sister. So I said, "Well, you can tell her, but let's make sure you have the proof." So Jess is busy handling, my phone, her phone, and the technician's phone. And I got tears in my eyes because Jess then said to me, "Sal, did you see her name?" I said, "What?" She said, "Did you happen to read her name?" And she's saying this before I've left. She's saying it quietly in my ear. And I looked down and her name was Faith. Faith. Talk about meeting special people. How many of you know I don't believe in coincidences? You've heard me say it time and timing. I don't believe in coincidences. Do I think it was by accident that God, yes, Kimmy saying God gave me a sign. And, literally, I said to her, you will never know how important meeting you today was for me. Yeah, like I can see it was for her, but how important it was for me. And, you know, there are times in your life where you just have to go, some things are just plain out of your control. Totally. And I found that there are, I've always said you've got friends and then pretend friends. I found it really interesting the two different ways that people approach this when they heard. I probably don't have to give you names around this, but you can imagine Jess, by the time we even got to the car, Jess had a plan. She's that sort of a person. She had a plan. Okay, now I don't want you to worry about anything, Sal, because we will take you, Doug and I will take you to the operation whenever it is. But then we'll take you back to Dougie's and we will look after you until you are ready to look after yourself. I mean, she was already that far ahead. And I said, well, thank you, honey. I mean, what can I say? And then she carried on talking about these plans. And then she said something that was fairly controlling. And I said, whoa, hang on a second, Jess. And she said, what? And I said, I just want to remind you, I'm not a 9-year-old or 10-year-old. I am actually 75. And I may choose to do that, but I don't have to. She must have said, and then you have to do da-da-da-da. And I go, no, Jess. You see, it's not about that I have to. I may choose to, but I need you to know as an adult, I don't have to do anything. Now, you've heard me say that time and time again, but apparently I'd never said it to Jess because she looked at me and she said, that's a really interesting concept. And I said, oh, you obviously don't listen to the broadcast because you would have heard it time and time again. And we carried on talking. I realized that part of my joy was I had the chance to talk to Jess and be able to share some of my knowledge that hopefully will be able to help Jess. So, but the really funny thing came a little bit later that evening when she was texting me and I was texting her back. And I said something and she wrote back to me, I'd like to remind you as an adult, I may choose not to do that. I burst out laughing, literally, and I wrote back and said, that gets you a 10 out of 10. Not only did you hear me say it, but now you are already repeating it. That is amazing. So amazing. All right. So are there any other questions that you have? Because next part I want to go into is what have I been doing to process this? And, how have I been doing it? One of the things that Jess was amazed at, of course, was the fact that I wasn't freaking. I wasn't freaking out because she knew that was not what I expected to hear because I told her that. And yet I wasn't freaking out. And I said, I choose not to be on the hamster wheel. Well, she didn't know what that was, so I had to explain it. And she said, you can just choose not to be on the hamster wheel? And I said, yeah. And then she made a really interesting comment to me. She said, doesn't that mean that you are suppressing your emotion? I said, hey, no, I'm just choosing when to deal with it. I got lots of emotion going on. You can be sure. I'm not in denial of any emotion. I just choose not to bring it out right now because I'd rather spend time talking to you about other stuff. She said, you can choose that? And I said, yep. If you have emotional intelligence. And she was, obviously that was something she needed to hear. And I said, I promise you I will not suppress the emotion because once I'm on my own and I have some space to myself, I will start bringing all this back, and I will start dealing with each of the points. Jeannie's saying this is such an important concept that you've been teaching us. Yes. And you can imagine what was going through my head, or what would have been going through my head if I'd allowed it to. All right. There was all that information. I didn't have to worry about all the information. Why? I knew Otter had it, the recording program. I knew Jess had taken notes, and I had this huge booklet with 1,001 different answers, commonly asked questions sort of thing, and also the whole process, what's going to happen. Bye, Nasha. Good to see you. So, and this is the whole thing. By the way, there's an awful lot that has to happen. I'm so glad that I'm choosing to do it in January. However, in the meantime, I do have an appointment on Tuesday with the surgeon to actually sign authorization that I agree to have the operation. All right, questions? Before I get into the second part. Any questions? Thank you, Nash. And Nash is saying, Mama Sal, good luck on your health journey. How many of you had a completely different reaction once you heard that the lady's name was Faith? How many of you just felt your stress level go down? Because, yeah, Isabel, isn't it amazing? It was just, and I could have clean missed that if I hadn't had Jess with me. All right. And I'm certain, Faith. Hi, Faith. If you ever watch this, hi there, honey. Another big hug, and yeah, love you. She will never know that her name meant more to me than meeting me meant to her. and I want to tell you, that was pretty amazing to watch. Jess is just standing there. Jess had never seen that happen before, so she was just going, if you've never seen anybody react like that, then it is an interesting thing to watch that somebody could react like that just on knowing. And I asked Faith later. I said, Faith, was it my name that you understood, or was it my voice that made you think you'd met me before? She said, I didn't recognize the name. I went to look at the name to go and see, do I know this person? And she said, but it was the voice. I knew that voice. She said, of course I did. Your Mama Sal. I mean, like, duh. And I said, well, how? I'm certain if I hadn't got the mask on and you'd seen my smile, you would have known immediately who it was. And she said, yeah, absolutely. She was literally just looking at this. And she didn't recognize this. She would have recognized this bit. Isn't that interesting? I find so. So, obviously, I came home. And, Jess and I had a little chat, and I took her to Confetti Corner to show her what was going on in Confetti Corner. And for those of you who don't know, Confetti Corner is my craft room where I'm busy creating magical things for Christmas. And what the interesting thing was that once she left, how many of you understand that after she left, I had a chance to exhale? Yvonne made a very interesting point to me, which was once the operation is over, I will have chance to stop being brave, right? and I'd never thought of it like that. But I said, I don't see myself as brave. And she said, oh yeah, you are. And most people would be freaking out right now. And she said, so how did you react once Jess had gone? How many of you can see that in a way Jess was a crutch for me in hearing this information? Kimmy's saying this is really making me think. Let me know what part of it's making you think. If you care to share. Anyway, so once Jess is gone, I was on my own. But I wasn't on my own. Jody, was the first to hear, I think. My neighbor. and obviously Yvonne, I had to let people who I know really cared. I knew Doug would hear it from Jess, but I did cover him off later just in case she she hadn't spoken to her. Um, but it was just like it was interesting to hear the two different sorts of responses. The first group of people I now know are my friends. And the reason I know they're my friends was they didn't go running off and going into chaos or anything. What they did is they all said, really sorry to hear that, Sal. What can I do to support you right now? Or what can I do to help you now? It was amazing how many people didn't worry about themselves and their reaction. They wanted to know what could they do. What could they do? I want to tell you, if you have anybody that gets a diagnosis like this, that is a really wonderful thing to reply to them if you don't know. And I never know what to say to somebody. What can you do to support them is the most important thing you can ask them. Now, other people, I won't mention their relationship to me, wrote and said, "Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. By the way, this happened to me." And something totally different. Hmm. And another one was, "I'm sorry to hear about your health issues. I know you'll handle it well. You always do." Can you hear the difference between the two? Interesting. Kimmy's saying when they were telling what was going to happen, the surgery, and having somewhere there to support you. I had to deal with it on my own. Yes, you chose to deal with it on your own because you didn't allow. I want to tell you, Kimmy, I very nearly didn't let her come with me. I said, I'm more than capable of taking this information in. And I've got off, I've got to. No, she wouldn't hear of me going on my own. This was way too important. And I will be forever grateful to Jess for not letting me talk her out of it because it was true. You know, I went into, can you imagine how much information? I want to tell you that you can probably see all the scribblings that the surgeon did, all right? But, she wrote things, but guess what? I can't read her writing. So then I go back to the notes to see if I understood it all correctly. And this, the first page of this brochure says, your surgery at a glance. And I'm going, that's the first thing I saw was her carrying this, which I happened to see. And then she opened it up and I happened to see that. I knew I knew where I was going. Kimmy said, I wanted somebody there, but they chose not to be. Yes. So you didn't have a plan B and C or D? Yes, Jeannie. Absolutely. Jeannie's saying Jess is a true friend. Wonderful that she's in Dougie's life. They both love you. Yes, and I agree, Isabel. All right. Isabel's saying to Kimmy, I'm so sorry, Kimmy. All right. But Kimmy, next time, don't just have one person. I made sure that I had other people ready to step in. And even the night before, I knew who my real friends were here because the night before, a couple of them wrote to me and said, just checking, double checking to make sure you still have a ride to that meeting tomorrow. And I just went, they get an extra point. So, Kimmy, can you see that next time it's not one person? Next time, even if you almost have to rent a friend for the day, you know what I mean? It's like really important. Or, as I did, make sure you get the program Otter, Otter, and download it onto your phone so that you can. By the way, by the time I got home, it was all already in my inbox transcribed. It transcribes as it does it, but then they send you a hard copy. Not a hard copy. They send you an email. They let you know that the total thing has been transcribed, and you can download it and then print it out if you want to. So really important. So number one, get off the hamster wheel. What are the facts, everybody? Let's see how well you do with this. Let go of your emotion about this. What are the facts? Let's see how you do. No reaction? It's, this is a case study to see how you can get off the hamster wheel and deal with facts. Remember, think like a lawyer. So, what are the facts? Anybody? There are a couple of facts, only a couple of them. And even if you're in the wings, feel free to type them. Or if you're watching this in the replay, feel free to type what the facts are. Because if you can, out of all that talk, you can just get down to the facts. Number one, I have cancer. Or not. All right? Both are true. I have cancer or have had it. I don't know which until they get the result until they do the lymph node test. Facts. All right. So Jeannie's saying best idea is to have a mastectomy to be all the way, to do away with all the cancer. They think it's probably already gone. All right. But the fact is, I think that having a mastectomy is an opinion, not a fact. All right. Fact is that was a choice. And the fact is that I made the choice to do that. But that it's the best idea is an opinion. Does that make sense, Jeannie? Not a fact. We don't know. I guess in a way you could be right. Yeah, wait a minute. Let me think about that because of the statistics. But you understand what I'm saying about the opinion. The fact is I have cancer or have had it. The date has been chosen as January. Yes, Isabel, that is a fact. Well done. Good. I'm so proud of you. Keep going. Any other facts? How about that there were two different sorts of cells that they found? All right. One, the invasive ones, the other, the precancerous ones, right? There were two different sorts of situations going on there. Third fact, it was contained, as far as they know, within the duct. Fact, if a cell or four, whatever, escaped the duct before the biopsy would not have caused a spread of the cells, I've been told. The fact is that there is a possibility that a couple of cells got as far as my lymph nodes, but we don't know. There could still be some floating around in the rest of the tissue. The margins were all clear, but that's what they want to make sure of. Jody saying, was the surgeon's influence part of my deciding factor? Yes, Jody. Her voice tone, if you can imagine. All right, I'll try and sort of get. She goes, well, option A is that you can do it, and there's an 8% chance it can come back, and there's no guarantee you won't have to have a second operation on it, and and you're. However, the other option is that we just take the damn thing off, 0 chance of it coming back in that boob because you won't have one, and here you're going to have to do 19 days of radiation. Here, no days of radiation. We understand. It was just like, it was, if you listen to the way that she said it, I guess it was one of those things that you had to be there. But she wasn't making the decision, nor did she ask me to make it immediately. I really like that. Right? Go home and talk about it with your family and friends. Now, it's not that family and friends are going to make the decision. but it's a case of, other people have input. Yeah, Kimmy's saying that's what I would do. I'd take them off. One fact, I will have faith. Yeah. Thanks, thanks, Isabel. She doesn't know. I just have to see her face and her joy. Did you, when you finish the broadcast, have another look at the thumbnail and see the look in her eyes. Mine are looking pretty dead, but look at hers. So you understand, it's what people do and how they sound speaks more loudly than what they say. It was, there was no doubt at all. I did ask her the direct question because I would. I looked at her and I said, if I were your daughter, and I know that would be physically impossible because I think I'm way older than you, but if I were your daughter, what would you recommend? I asked that question. And she again said the two options, and she didn't outright say, because that's not her call. It's my call. You understand? I still own my body. If I choose not to go that route, it doesn't make it the wrong choice. There is a possibility I will have a boob lopped and still end up finding out that the first node is clean, and therefore I didn't need a mastectomy. How many of you can see that possibility? Hi, Bernice. Good to see you. No. Why? And that's not Bernice. So sorry. I can't remember your real name, Sakura. Anyway, I thought it was Bernice. Is it Bernice? Yes, I got it right. I've still got brain cells working, Jody. It's so exciting. It's been a long time since I've seen that name pop up. So thank you. And how are things in Texas? I presume you're there by now. So you understand that now I'm at home and alone, and now I need to deal with stuff. Yes, Jeannie's saying that being sure that I have a 0 chance of it coming back into that boob was something I remembered quite clearly. There was an 8% chance if I had the second operation, minor operation, but there was a 0 chance if I had the mastectomy. So, that was like, I kept hearing that. Wow. Sakura's saying right now I'm in the Philippines visiting and doing paperwork stuff here and friend's wedding and lots more. And wonderful. And that means that you can come back in quite easily because you've got all the right documents now. How does that feel? Because you had to wait to get all the right documents before you could leave the country. Yeah, my brain went there immediately. Right? Does that feel like freedom suddenly? A big burden off your shoulder. Yeah. I'm about to get a big burden off my chest, literally. So now I want to go back to what do you, and you guys know me pretty well. What do you know that I need to do next? All right, let's see. All right, I got all this information. And what do you know I need to do next? First thing, fact, make a cup of coffee. And then I could hear Jody saying, and find something good to eat. Yeah, Bernice is saying the main thing is to breathe and keep calm. Right, Jody's saying you need to plan. Right, because that's who I am. Good one, Jody. Jeannie's saying you need to keep processing. Absolutely. Kimmy's saying get the facts and prepare. Yes, that's who I am. Don't want any more surprises than I possibly can help. Do you understand how being prepared to hear that, even though there was a very slight possibility, the odds were in my favor that I would not hear that? Do you understand? Even my doctor said, unlikely, The fact that I was prepared to hear it and took the sugar beforehand helped me no end. So now I know I need time to process. And I quite honestly started off by thinking, it is important for me to process this properly. Bernice is saying, I need to forgive myself and keep moving forward. What do I have to forgive myself for? Bernice, interesting. What do I need to forgive myself for? The first thing that I thought I needed to do was to write a note to Jess to tell her how important her role had been in that whole scenario, that she acted like a daughter, and I was blessed to have her as one. Okay, so Bernice is saying there's always something tiny or huge. I actually didn't feel that, I still don't. I'll keep looking at that though. What I need to forgive myself for. I actually did the opposite. I actually gave myself credit for all the processing I had done beforehand, that I was able to deal with the shock fairly well. Maybe the one thing I would forgive myself for was not being able to keep all that information on track. There was just so much, and I'm going, did I ask the right questions? And by the way, that's the reason they give you a space, then come back. I will see the same surgeon again, and I will get to ask other questions. By the way, Jess already, had compiled a list for me. Yes, always give yourself grace. All right. It's okay. Is it okay for me to feel scared? Yes or no? Was it okay for me to overwhelm, however slightly? Yes, you see, feelings are good. It's absolutely okay to feel scared. But for how long? And that's what I was trying to explain to Jess. I'm not going to hide those feelings. I'm going to go home and revisit them all. It's only natural. I'd be lying, wouldn't I, if I told you I didn't have any moments of fear? I'd be lying. You'd know that. It's like, now, can I control the fear? Yeah. One of the things that I think Kimmy said, let me just read back here. Who said that? Oh, there we go. Kimmy said, keep busy and don't worry. Is it possible not to worry? Is that a choice? Yes, Jeannie is saying it. Feel it and then get off the hamster wheel. Acknowledge it. Go, yep, you're scared. Quite normal. Now then, what are you going to do in the meantime? So you understand, it's like all these things that we've been talking about for a year prepared me for this whole moment. Yes, it's all normal, says Bernice, but do not dwell on it. Yes, you have control. Feel it and then make plans. Give yourself to God and trust what is. Trust what is. Yeah, that's what her father says, her stepfather. Her father-in-law. Sorry, not your stepfather. But I keep remembering, what was the message? You have faith.
According to Wikipedia, a message is a discrete unit of communication.
Alexa thought I was talking to her. So you understand, it's like, every feeling I have is quite normal. I'm not hiding them. But I know that I need to distract my mind from thinking about it 24/7. Right? I do not need to think about this 24/7. So now you know me very well. Where is the one place that I will go? All right. Kimmy's saying, hey, your pad talks to you too. I love it when Alexa tries to answer the guys on the television. That always makes me laugh. I'm going, no, Alexa, it's not for you. Just happened to be somebody called Alex on the, just quietly, Alex on the video, right? What I was watching. So you all know me pretty well. How would I occupy my mind so I don't dwell on this? Jeannie says your corner to create confetti corner. And do you think I just mindlessly printed out stuff? I mean, cut out stuff and did it? No, I chose to go back and find a couple of things I've been meaning to test out that would require a lot of brain power. Kimmy's saying, she says that her phone picks up things at night. It scares the life out of her. Bernice is saying, talk to us and the kiddies. Luckily, I'd spoken to the children the night before. And some of you might have seen that because I had sent them down a big box with gifts in it. And of course, it was Juliana's birthday this week. So I had done that. And I actually asked for another play date. You know, I said to Judy, am I allowed a second play date, please? Because, you know, I just love how excited they get and how much they enjoy showing me things. And, you know, I can be so incredibly amazed at them. Was there a video? That's awesome. Jeannie's saying there was a video. It was great. Yes. And can I believe she is 10, which means that I have been not smoking for 10 years. Now, I know that the reason I gave up smoking was because of Juliana. So she was born, and then so in January the 12th, it would be 10 years. But, you know, it was just so wonderful to see all their reaction. And the funny thing was, I've never met Leah, and I haven't seen her a lot on video either. We haven't really talked, but she kept coming up to the video and waved at me, and, you know, and it was just so cute. So yes, I had that with me, and that joy I had in my heart already. So I thought I'd show you some of the things that I went to go and work on when I went into the corner. One thing I wanted to do was to try, is it possible to take a shape and then incorporate another set of shapes on top of it, and then have it joined together, and then be able to print it. All right? You want to see what I did? So first of all, I had the shape of the elephant. And then separately, I had this lace design. And I managed to get my program. I knew that it's possible to do, but is it possible to do in my program? And I think it turned out beautifully. Can you imagine that in a frame? Yes, Sandy, pretty, huh? Then I remembered that way back when I started working on, hang on a second. I started working on the second, that's not good. This is my second Christmas village. All right. I call it the Alpine one. And I had not really had a lot of success with it. So I spent a bit of time perfecting this. All right. Then some of you might have seen, I've been on a mission. How do I use scraps of paper And what I've been working on is making pretty gift tags out of scraps of paper. I think they're cute, don't you? And then there's a one like that. All takes a lot of thought and think. However, about the time I got this one, I also got one to do a pillar to go over a candle, LED candle. And this is the one. And I had problems with it when I first tried it. I spent a lot of time playing with it, getting the right cutting depth and everything else. And now I can do that. So I'm really happy about that. And then so much detail. Yeah. How do you like this one? Jody asked me, how do I pick the designs? I look at a lot of them and I wait until one talks to me. Does that make sense to anybody? I've always loved these houses because I've never found anybody that doesn't love them. The interesting psychological test is, do they pick the white ones or the red ones? And it's very interesting. It depends on your decor. If you can imagine it, if you imagine it on a mantelpiece or a shelf, all of you will imagine it in your home. And that will decide whether you like the white one or the red one. I've now learned that. By the way, this one I just did last night. How do you like this one? Oh, it's going to have the silver and the angel on the back as well. But don't you love it? Can you imagine that on a tree? Now, I obviously could make it smaller, but this is the size it started with. Ah, yeah, I'm glad that you like this. I thought it was amazing as well. So can you understand though, I'm picking things. How long do you think it took me to work out how to do this, then do the test of it? This is the first one I've done, so you understand, I'll get faster at it as I do it. And then to know where to pick out the bits of paper, that took a lot of time. All right. But all the time I'm working on the math of that. All the time I'm working on the plan of that. I want to tell you, Jeannie, there's a reason why I call it. Oh, okay. Kim wants to know how I did that. All right. So let me explain this again. I started off, Kimmy, finding the outline of an elephant. All right. And I looked online to see if I could get one for free anyway. And I found this one and I liked it. And what I thought was, wonder what that would look like if I had lace in it, rather than just a silhouette. What if I had lace inside it? You see, it's one of those things I'm always thinking, what if, the next step. Jody has picked up on the fact that I could be having a problem round about now. Why? Because each thing I do leads me to think about, oh, now that I know how to do that, what's the next thing? Jody, you're quite right. So then what I did, Kimmy, was I found the lace, right? Imagine that's on the side. Now, the big challenge was, how do I take this lace, put it under the shape, and then have the die cutter machine recognize that what it needs to do. Oh, there was another point to it. All right. So what I needed it to do was to incorporate the two together. When I did that, I noticed that, the lace went on the outside. This is going to blow your mind, people. I then very systematically and very slowly and carefully went around every edge and cut away on the design the bits that went over it. You don't want to know how long that took. And I'm literally taking, a little bit like this at the bottom there, and I'm blowing it up big, and then very finely cutting away the extra bit. Interesting that Jody's saying it's so striking. The elephant is one of my very favorite things I've created. I don't ask me how I thought that I thought it would work. By the way, I just happen to have the deep blue paper as well, and I think that really makes it. Of course, part of me go, I wonder what it would look like with silver. Wait. This is what happens to me. I then ask myself questions like this. What would it look like with silver behind it? All right, instead of the black, all right, or gold. So the question is, though, I like the dark behind it. Somehow or other, there's something about the depth of that color and then the delicacy of the lace. Jeannie's saying, I do not see any of Jody's comments. Why is that? Probably because she accidentally blocked you the other time. I don't know. Oh, Jody's saying, Jeannie needs to know that she may have blocked. Jeannie, you may have blocked Jody. And she will talk to you after the broadcast to show you how to unblock. Yeah, I think the dark is better, but you understand, like all things in life, it depends on a personal choice. And so if you notice all the things I've made for Christmas, I made a few other things. Hold on. So this is what I've been working on. Each one, yeah, I like that one as well. So the idea being that I think, I'm going to have some of these on my tree so that if anybody arrives that I haven't thought of, which happens, doesn't it? That I will say, oh, I've got some of the ornaments here. Pick the one that you like. All right. So there'll be, a couple of angels on my tree and a couple of these. And then some of you will remember the other one. Hang on, where's the other one? Wait. Remember this one? So can you see that what I've been doing is occupying my mind? It doesn't mean I am not processing, because guess what? Every time I turn that cutter on to start cutting, and just so you understand, in order for this to work, I have to have it cut it twice. And you can imagine how long that takes. All right? Now, let me tell you something else. To cut this, that is the background to the angel in silver, takes twice as long to cut and twice as many cuts. I have to put the die machine cut to 4 times to get through this glitter. It's really high quality glitter. But is it worth it? Yes. And Jody will tell you, after I finished doing that, I sleep like a log. Oh, you like the bow? I like the bow as well. This one? I love that. But now there are all sorts of challenges to it, right? So does it make sense that in order to get that angel on the back, I obviously need the second one, but now I have to take this image and do it the opposite way for it to be right to fit on the back. It's really very challenging stuff. I have a feeling that my brain's still working. And I believe part of the reason my brain is not in overload is because I'm using it to do creative things. But all the time, I have a notepad and paper with me because I'm just interested in what comes up when I'm busy working on other things. What is my mind giving me? And I'm keeping those notes. And I've got a pile of them. And so even though it was so funny, I had to fill out a form that while I was there, and I just realized I now have to say that I've had cancer. And, it's just like, or maybe still do. I don't know yet. So, it's really interesting, the little things. I realize if I fill out a medical form now, I need to mention this. To be honest about this, I need to mention it. And that will bring higher prices for medical insurance and stuff like that if I leave the country. It's just like, it is what it is. All right. I can't pretend that it isn't there. Though it may have been gone, and we won't know until I do the mastectomy and they find those nodes, whether I was lucky. Did I catch it early enough? And if I did, you will understand the only reason I caught the cancer was because I went for a mammogram and they saw it lining up. Now, the other question I asked, and I wonder if any of you have thought about this, if it's here, is it likely to be somewhere else? Did any of you think about that? Probably didn't want to ask that question. If I got it in my boob, is it somewhere else? Yeah. I asked that question, Kimmy. Unlikely is what I got. Not saying no, but unlikely. Apparently, this is a particular cancer of its own. It's not sort of, but the cells, if they'd been left to travel a lot, if I hadn't had a mammogram at all, and the first I knew about it was that I got a lump. Luckily, you understand that this all happened inside a duct, a little tiny tube, right? And if I hadn't had that mammogram, we wouldn't be having this discussion. I wouldn't be having a mastectomy. And here is the other side of it. The first I would know about it is when I got really sick. And I hope you can see I'm not really sick right now. I just happen to have some problem in this boob. Now, Jody will probably tell you, if she thinks back, I've been having issues, I think I would say, for a while. All right. I'm feeling more tired and stuff like that. Is it all linked? We don't know. But I don't intend to worry myself into an early grave. I still firmly believe I will outlive a lot of you. Right? And How many of you know that it was distracting myself even while I was still at the clinic, distracting myself with the whole conversation about the phone going on and the doorbell going on my house is all part of my stress reduction. And I really felt that God, that God was with me in that moment when just said, "Did you see her name?" And I went, "No." And I went, "Ah, faith." Now, I do have a question because obviously this is a difficult thing to hear. I don't want to overwhelm you guys with my medical stuff, but I think you will understand why I needed to cancel those 2 broadcasts. All right. I realized that I needed to be able to process and get my mind much more settled before I could talk about it with some um, desensitization, I think would be the word. All right. Really important. And by the way, part of my discussion with Jess over the last couple of days has been, I'm thinking at home, I probably would be more comfortable because I've got an automatic bed that, I can sit up with and da 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 da, things like that. Um, Interesting. Sandy's saying, we're so lucky to have somebody like you, especially for someone like me who does a lot of denial. I want to tell you something, Sandy. The fact that you know that you do denial is halfway there. But can you see that? Do I have reason to worry myself sick? Jeannie's saying this is your privilege to process and relax and do what you will. So there may be other broadcasts that I need to cancel because I need to look after me. But I will keep informing you of what's going on. And I hope that's okay with all of you. Because it will be part of my coping mechanism to be able to verbalize it so that I can get it out of my mind and out into the universe. I also believe there's so much learning to be done around this. Jody's saying, I applaud the great self-care. And Jody, I don't know. I shop online for my groceries. And for some reason this week, I ordered two containers of candy. It's getting close to Halloween, right? And one was full of Australian black licorice, and the other was licorice all sorts. I have consumed the whole lot. I don't dare take my blood glucose. But how many of you know that there are no coincidences? How come in years and years I never order candy? Why? Because I know if I order it, I will eat it. But this week, before I got that diagnosis, I already ordered the candy. And I went, there are no coincidences. Yes, Judy's saying that's part of the prescription for processing. So I allowed myself, I tried to minimize it, but it was very difficult. I realized my body is in shock and still needs more sugar. Isn't that kind of him? Jeannie's saying York, that's her husband, wants you to know that he sends lots of love. He wants to make sure you know it. Well, with tears in my eyes, York, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I know that our 2 lives are intertwined by fire, whether we like it or not. But, I will continue to let you know the good, the bad, and the ugly of what it is to be Dear Mama Sal. How many of you go, well, maybe you want to stop doing Dear Mama Sal? No, I don't want to stop doing it. Look at the support I get. Yeah, and so you understand there will be moments when I don't look as good, maybe. I don't know. Well, maybe I don't anyway. But there's part of me that's needs to forgive myself. Thank you, Bernice. I'll work on that thinking about that, I'm realizing part of what I need to forgive myself for. Remember, she made Bernice, I've worked it out. I need to forgive myself for eating candy and putting on weight. But I've just about had enough of that now. Well, I'll probably get more candy because Halloween's not over. It's always a bad month for me. Um, but it's like, yes, I won't be perfect on things, and I need to forgive myself for that. I've got other things that I'm coping with. So I hope we've learnt something today. Take somebody with you if you go to a meeting. Now, Jody made a very important comment, or was it Yvonne? One of the two of you made a comment to me, and it said, it is unlikely that you would have had to go back to meet the surgeon again if everything had been fine. You probably would have got that everything's fine okay from the doctor. But it was the fact that I had to go back and get that information from the surgeon. Yeah, I think it was Yvonne. She said that to her that was a red flag. That I didn't get the okay, they've done it and this is what's happened just from the doctor. And so, to me, that's so kind. Thank you, Jeannie. Jeannie's saying you look marvelous tonight. The insides of you shine out brightly. It is true beauty. Well, I want to tell you that I am facing a lot of new things. One of the things I said to Jess is that I don't believe anything's by accident, right? So one of the things that Jess learned was about getting off the hamster wheel, and Kimmy's reminding herself that she needs to do that as well. But I was teaching her how to get off the hamster wheel. And then I said to Jess, maybe this is our time. I get to help you get off the hamster wheel on things, and you get to teach me something. And she sort of went, what? And I said, your job is to teach me how to receive. How many of you know I've always been a giver of information, of tips on how to do things, of knowledge. I've always been the giver. And now I'm going to have to learn to receive. And I hope you know that is not an easy lesson for me. To actually let somebody pick up my bag and hold my coffee and do things like that, because I've lived so much of my life on my own without that sort of support. And I literally was crying when I said to Jess at one point, I cannot tell you the love I am feeling. Jeannie's saying, we had to receive after our fire and you helped us. Yeah, it's, so Jeannie, you understand, receiving, Jeannie, anytime you've ever sent me one of your little care packages, which I just want to say is so cute, I have great difficulty, and I go, why would she do that? Why would she send me mustard? Why would she send me crock-pot stuff? And, it's just like, I'm blown away. And Jody does the same thing, and we know she can't afford to do that. So, to me, it's all like, I'm very touched. But how many of you know this is here to teach me something? This is here to teach me that I do have a daughter out there that I didn't know about, and her name is Jess. And that Jess didn't think twice about taking half a day off work to be with me. What a gift of love was that. And by the way, has already told me that if I get a chance to pick dates, that these dates would work best in January. Why? Because she is going to be there. Now, I got a bit of a problem because Yvonne thinks she's going to be there as well. So, but, it is amazing. So I've got to learn to receive. I've got to learn that other people are going to want to wait on me hand and foot. I've got to learn to be gracious in that. And that maybe sometimes I will be treated like a 10-year-old, not a 75-year-old adult, and that's my learning. So I am going to share with you the lessons that I learn in this process. There is no doubt about it that finding faith was a very important part of it. That I found I had a new daughter was a very important part of it. Or and basically from all my neighbors and everything here told me, don't worry, we got you covered. Because I'm saying I need to make a plan now because it's going to be January. So guess what? We could have snow and I will need help with moving snow. It's covered, so don't worry. And what about the garbage cans? And don't worry, so we've got you covered. People kept telling me, don't worry about it. So it is. Remember, I said I kept wondering why I came here and what my role was here. I think a lot of it was not only the fact that I had things to teach, but I also had things to learn. And having my whole community say, we got your back. Community love, yeah, we got your back. Um, Brings tears to my eyes. You're not alone. Wow. Nice to know, huh? So believe me when I say I do not believe in coincidences. Everything I see in my world, I believe has a reason. So it is so important for us to see that everything that life brings us is there for a reason. Good, bad, and ugly. So this is Dear Mama Sal saying, Jeannie, didn't you ask me some time ago, why don't I talk more about my faith? I think that's a right quote. Am I right? Literally, you said to me, why don't I talk more about my faith? Pretty amazing coincidence, if you believe in coincidences, which I don't. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, have a great week. Keep processing stuff, but choose when to process them. I don't need to throw up my emotions to everybody. Not everybody can take it. I don't need to throw out my emotion and get angry and frustrated. I can have moments of sadness, sure. I got moments of grieving. It's important that I grieve before it happens. But basically, aren't I lucky to be alive? Aren't I so lucky I went for that mammogram when I did? And aren't I so lucky to have a surgeon who obviously, is very, I think, very high up in the thing. And even when they changed the appointment, the woman said to me, the doctor has particularly said that she wants to see you personally for this next one, even though it's signed the documents. She wants to see you personally. Right? She wasn't prepared to have me. She suddenly had to change the appointment, and she didn't want any other doctor to deal with me, even though I'm just signing the forms. She wanted to make sure she saw me. There are good people in the world. There are wonderful things happening to us every day if we open up our eyes and see them. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, we'll see you on Friday, unless life gets in the way. Bye-bye for now. Jody, thank you for all your help. And to all of you, thank you for all the support. Keep it coming. I may need it.